name is James Sims. I'm a physiotherapist, PhD candidate and research associate with CP Achieve. I'm also a surf lifesaver at Port Campbell Beach in southwest Victoria. Firstly, I'd really like to say it's just a great pleasure to be able to present to you today. I also wanted to thank CP Achieve for this platform to share my work and for their support, as well as that from Australian Catholic University. Today, I'm going to start by giving you an update and some background on my PhD project, as well as the progress made so far, with a little bit more focus on the second study, which is a qualitative piece, and which forms part of my doctoral work. Then I'm really excited to share the findings of how my second study has created a spark, which really has grown into a bonfire of an idea, the Port Campbell Beach Accessibility Day, where I've had the chance to really see my research come to life. Throughout this talk, I'll share with you sections of interviews that I conducted with two families who attended the beach day. For that, it might be best if people can use earphones, or you might even need to turn the volume up on that a little bit. I've just noticed that they are a little bit soft, but if you can't hear those, there will be the opportunity to, I hope, watch those on the CP Achieve channel. There is an extended version. But just to start, research, it has to matter. As a physiotherapist and early career researcher, I'm unapologetically focused on achieving outcomes for myself, for my clients, and through my research. We can all recognise that one of the big challenges in achieving change is how long it can take for clinical research to inform practice. One of the challenges of clinical trials, which need to be controlled for internal variables, is that they might not replicate real-world practice. And one solution that's been suggested for physical activity interventions is to assess trials in the environment in which they're to take place, that is, the community. They say begin with the end in mind, and in my mind, the end goal for my PhD is to create sustainable physical activity solutions for adults with cerebral palsy and for people living with disabilities that can be done in their own communities. So before we continue further, I'll introduce you to two families representing families who this CP Achieve inspired research mattered to. Firstly, we'll meet Goldie's mum, Charlene.
So I'm Charlene, my daughter Goldie is 6, and then there's my husband Cole, son Rocky who's 3, and Goldie has a genetic condition that causes a lot of seizures, and she also has some physical deficits as a result of a surgery that she had to try and resolve some of those seizures. So she primarily uses a wheelchair. She can take a couple of steps, but in general, if we were out and about in the community, she'd be using the wheelchair.
Now we'll meet Maddie's dad, Daniel.
My name's Daniel, Madison's father, and Madison's beautiful 14-year-old girl with a genetic condition. It's quite rare, it's pre-Duchenne. It's a genomic deletion. So basically she just physically and mentally doesn't develop at the same rate as what other children of a similar age would do.
So now we'll take you back a few years to where my research topic began. My initial aim was to understand mobility decline in adults with cerebral palsy, and because I became interested in working when I was working as a disability support person, after seeing firsthand the impact of transfer by hoist instead of transferring independently. And I've learned that CP is not a progressive condition, that adults can experience early functional decline. However, there was little literature, particularly at that stage, on the topic for adults, as most focused on children and adolescents. So my initial thoughts was to change the world by changing a muscle. I'd zap the quadricep with an electronic stim device, because surely if that was stronger, standing transfers would be easier. Well, from that pre-project idea, changing the muscle, it was made clear by my team that that initial plan might need some work. So this is where I introduced the 3 studies of my PhD. Study 1, a systematic review, which was published in 2022, looked for the best exercise or exercise parameters. Study 2, a qualitative study, which is currently having the manuscript drafted, sought to find the best type of physical activity that adults with CP wanted to do. And study 3, lastly, is I'm about to commence a feasibility study, Fit Skills, a student peer mentored 12-week gym intervention for adults with CP. And in this study, I'll look for the best community environment both physical and social, to complete physical activity in. So we can really sort of see, like even in my own mind, how that journey is sort of developed, you know, from the muscle to the community, and hopefully be able to sort of demonstrate that through the studies, but particularly in the case study at the end. So in the first study, what was the key messages from the systematic review? With many reviews having been conducted on children and some on adults, most looking at the effect of muscles and activity, our review focused on things that mattered to adults. That is participation, being able to do and being able to attend and being involved in the things they wanted to do, whether it be work, school, hobbies or exercise, as well as quality of life, which includes domains of pain, fatigue and mood, which have been identified as some specific concerns to an adult. So after sifting through over 1,400 studies, 17 studies remained, with the key findings. For all types of exercise, gym, treadmill, walking, swimming, dance, with no major adverse events reported, exercise appears safe for adults with CP. Secondly, no study included measures of participation, and only 2 included quality of life. Studies should measure outcomes that are important to adults with CP, not researchers. Thinking back to the beginning, it has to matter. And third and finally, our thinking around exercise and physical activity has to move beyond sets and reps to the environment and context within which exercise or physical activity take place. So let's put this in perspective. For the average gym user, do you think it really matters whether it's 3 sets of 12 or 3 sets of 8? Perhaps at the elite level. But at the community level, it matters more that people get in the door and, more importantly, want to come back and that they feel comfortable, welcomed and in a supportive environment. So with little clear guidance from the literature of best exercise, the logical next step was to speak to the adults themselves. One of the gaps revealed in the literature from the systematic review was the lack of representation of adults who use wheelchairs to access the community in exercise and physical activity research. We'd initially described this as complexity as other factors of complexity, secondary impairments and other health concerns are more prevalent with greater motor impairment. At this point, we decided to move away from focusing solely on exercise defined as intentional physical activity to enhance or maintain fitness and overall health, while physical activity is any voluntary movement of the body. In the largely sedentary population, it's important to consider a wider range of activity options when hoping to positively impact health. This includes not just increasing physical activity, but also perhaps decreasing sedentary behaviour. Even small amounts of activity or breaking up long periods of sedentary behaviour has the potential to impact health. So in the second study, we wanted to understand and explore what did adults with CP who use wheelchairs want to do in terms of community-based physical activity, and what did they need to be able to do it? So in 2023, we had ethics approval, and in June 2023, when recruitment closed, I'd spoken to 7 adults with CP who use wheelchairs and 5 support people. At this point, I'd really like to specifically thank CP Register and the Cerebral Palsy Alliance, in conjunction with CP Achieve, who were amazing in helping with recruitment. So with the semi-structured interviews, 11 which were conducted via Zoom and 1 which was a written interview, 149 codes were created, which were refined and developed into 6 themes. The 6 themes created from the experiences of the adults with support and support providers included appreciating diversity amongst wheelchair users, meaning recognising a person's individuality, advocating for inclusive activities, and recognising the important individual beyond their disability or mobility device. Second, self-determination and control emphasises that adults with CP using wheelchairs seek autonomy in their choices and decision-making. 3, flexibility and creativity in adapting activities. Participants seek customised, flexible physical activities, with support people playing a key role in enabling engagement. 4, accessibility, both physical and social, emphasises the important role of accessible environments, including physical structures such as ramps and amenities, or beach mats and sand wheelchairs, and social attitudes, staff and volunteer training and knowledge. 5, the crucial role of paid and unpaid support providers who hold positions of trust, recognising the power of their recommendations or concerns for safety play an important role in determining the types of physical activity that adults engage in. 6, appropriately challenging activities that maximise involvement. Ensuring activity and ability are matched carefully, leading to feelings of satisfaction and pride. So what does this mean in practice? What interpretation do I take from these findings that could change, promote, or create physical activity opportunities for adults who use wheelchairs, or more generally, any adult who has a mobility impairment, making community access difficult? So this is where it gets really good. While I was conducting my second study, I just started as a surf lifesaver at Port Campbell Beach. It was at this time that, while carrying out the interviews and speaking to the participants, most were telling me how much they loved the disability surfing days, something they wanted to do. And one specifically, a mother of a young daughter, made it clear it was important for them that their daughter needed to access the community and the importance of being seen by the community. So while on patrol, I'd often seen disability houses come down to the beach, not a short trip from Colac or Warrnambool, perhaps an hour. They'd get out, get an ice cream, remain on the concrete pathway and return home. It's a beautiful spot, so I'm sure they had a great day, but they should have had the option to access the sand or water if they choose. And we had 2 sand wheelchairs in the clubhouse, which I hadn't seen at that stage used. So I remember speaking to the club captain, Darcy, hey, I've got this idea. Well, fast forward to just under 1 year and Port Campbell Beach has already hosted its first Accessible Beach Day on the 3rd of December. This is where I started to see these themes float around 3 main issues. People, myself as the initiator, the secretary, Natalie, pictured above, brilliant at working with stakeholders and that eye for detail, and Darcy, the club captain, with a stoic, yep, let's make it happen. The place, well, Port Campbell speaks for itself, but as mentioned before about place, it's not just a beautiful bay, which really is a winner. It's the social aspects of place. And at a surf club, you don't get more inclusive, community-minded group. And process. For this event to be a success, having council on board was instrumental. With their help navigating permits, parking, connections to media, and assistance with marketing, it really was having those 3 factors all working together. And as you can see, this just isn't about sets and reps, nor the perfect type of physical activity. It's a dance coordinating all 3 factors of people, place, and process to create an environment and manage other contextual factors to create a physical activity opportunity that is both accessible and welcoming. So what is it about the beach? From a survey recently published on blue spaces out of CQ University, including beaches, it's seemed to become an important place for healthy lifestyles for their emotional, mental, and physical health benefits, as well as being a place that encourages health-promoting behaviour. From this survey by Job and colleagues, of the 350 people surveyed, including older adults and people living with a disability across Australia, almost half could not visit the beach, and 81% would if access improved. Barriers identified included difficulty moving on sand, no specialised equipment, inaccessible pathways, and difficulty accessing the water. So let's circle back to our friends, Charlene and Daniel. What was their experience of accessing the beach?
We attempted to go to the beach before. We brought one of those cheap beach trolleys, tried to take her down. She was wobbling all around, sinking in the sand. It was just one of those overwhelming days where it's like, we thought that we were going to have a nice day out, and it just was too hard. Let's go home. So we'd never all been together on the sand, in the water, as a family before that day.
We have, and reasonably successfully. We've been able to have a walk on the beach, and down there's a nice little stream where we could walk along with one person holding either side of Madison's hands and getting her feet in the water, and she's loved it. Definitely loved it. Yeah, Madison has her wheelchair, of which we would normally leave at the top of the beach. She can walk with assistance down to the beach, and that's how we've been able to access in the past.
So what did we do? Retrospectively, considering the changes we made on the day, I've mapped out these back to the themes of study 2. Firstly, it was important to showcase what was available so that participants could choose what they took part in, including wheelchair walks on the beach or surfing. 2, after making that choice, it was important that we had the choice of what sort of experience they had, where they wanted to go and what they did. We also made sure that we had time to chat and enjoy the experience. No one felt rushed. 3, activities were customised to the individual, We had several different types of beach chairs. We had hoists available for transfers, and the surfing crew had equipment and methods to cater for different body types. 4, yes, the beach matting and the beach chairs were critical, but so too was the culture of the Surf Lifesaving Club, one of inclusion, acceptance, taught at an early age when going through nippers. We also provided disability awareness training, which gave everyone the opportunity to have a robust discussion about language, equipment training, and also just having the opportunity to experience being lifted in a hoist, which I know for myself was quite profound when I was doing the training as a disability support provider. 5, on reflection, this is where we perhaps could have done better. Sunday suited us from a club and volunteer point of view, but for support staff, Sunday's a difficult day for availability, cost and transport. So the day was only made possible by in some instances, by the staff volunteering their time for their clients as they knew how much it meant to them. And lastly, challenge was retained. We did not make the physical activities easy, nor did we outlaw them. However, there were risk management plans in place, which had been carefully discussed beforehand, and provisions for safety, including partnering with the experts, the Disabled Surfing Association, to run that part of the event which we had the least experience and which required the highest amount of skill. So how did we do?
Yeah, so I really had no idea what to expect. And when we got there, people just came up to us. We were so overwhelmed with how friendly everybody was. And we popped her in a chair and took her for a walk. Some of the volunteers took her for a walk, and yeah, then took her for a surf, which I really didn't know how she would go. She always liked cold water, and of course she'd never been in the ocean before, so we had no idea. But they popped her on a board. They went to go nice and smooth, and I said, no, don't be gentle with her. She loves bumps and rides and whatever else. So they pushed the board up and down, and she giggled and laughed and had a great time. And then of course, Rocky was there as well. He was all excited seeing them surfing, so they let him have a go as well. So he just had the best day on the way home. He said, that was so much fun. And it was just, it sounds cliche, but it was one of the best days that we've had as a family, because yeah, so to all be able to be on the beach, in the sand, there was something for all of us to get out of that. Not just the kids, not just Goldie, it really was a family day out. So to have a day that really just brought us all together, the community together, was great.
And now we'll hear from Daniel again.
Yeah, that just took it to another level. Basically, does love the beach and the water and playing in the sand, but the accessibility day. One, I love pushing things with Madison to try and encourage her to get over some of her fears and to physically challenge her. And so the concept of her actually going fully in the water and being on a surfboard, and you know, she loved it. She was terrified. She screamed in joy as well as in fear. It was great, but it was just sheer joy when it came to the dune buggy, as she called it. It's having the support and people around that helps for me, but Madison also really likes to engage with others. And to have that many people around her wanting to share in her experience and making her the centre of the universe.
Go, 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 go! Woo! Yeah, Maddie!
Yeah, so I really had no idea.
So you can see from those videos that it really is had a really special impact on the children with a disability that attended, but in both instances also the sibling and the family as a whole. And those videos all throughout editing, and many times as I can imagine, you can imagine I've seen those, never fails to put a smile still on the face. But what about more broadly? As mentioned before, with the assistance of the Secretary, Key Person and Council, Process and Policy, we had excellent media reach. That included being well publicised before the event, follow-up stories after the event, and really, for me, a special win, I think, really was the at the local government level, where people from council who attended on the day, after seeing the impacts on the families and smiles on faces, went back and I actually listened on Facebook to the public streaming of the council meeting, discussing the social inclusion budget and how that's going to have to change for next year. So as I say to a lot of people, on many levels and on every metric, this to me was a success. So final thoughts from the people who matter.
Now we find the beach an easier thing to do, and we've got the confidence to come back whenever we like, and we plan to. We really are so grateful that there's people in the community that are going out of their way to help families like ours, and it might seem like a small thing for other people who are, you know, volunteering for that day, but it really does provide us with, it really was one of the best days that we've had. So yeah, it does make a difference.
Seeing the change in community towards the support. I see now, so Madison's 14 now, and I've seen so much more support coming through, and I want to continue to encourage that because it really makes a difference in Madison's lives and the rest of her family as well.
So as I mentioned before, I'm really hoping that there'll be some longer versions will be available. So with 12 months, hopefully, full time with my PhD to go, I feel like I've won already. I've had the opportunity to breathe life into my research and share it within my own community and see a groundswell or ocean swell of interest and change in neighbouring regions. It's just been so rewarding. I finish with two things. I offer myself to anyone who would like ideas on how to engage with their local council or local surf club to see how they might be able to raise awareness of accessible beaches. It's far more than mats and chairs, and as you can see from the stories shared and the experiences from this small day, such a win for all parties. Lastly, I want to thank CP Achieve, MCRI and ACU for their support through my studies and research. The whole process has been life-building and life-changing. Thank you for attending or watching online.